Renae Patel, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
How are you doing?
A bit cold, but otherwise I'm okay. Our weather is just driving us crazy.
At least there's one person in the last few weeks I can relate to it because each time someone internationally comes on and they ask me,
Yes.
how am I doing? I'm like, I'm freezing because I do not like cold. It's winter
Well, I've
in
actually
South
been sick
Africa.
for like 3 weeks because of this weather, like on and off, on and off. It's not helping.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not helping. And the flu is terrible this time around.
It is. I'm starting to wonder, like, is this like the flu that we used to, or is this like flu 2.0 or something? Because it's just
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Someone told me yesterday they assuming it's another variant of COVID. But who
I agree
knows?
because I've also heard the same because I've also like my sense of taste and smell comes and goes. So yeah, it's been like that for 3 weeks and the antibiotics that I've been given didn't seem to be helping. So I actually got other ones today to try out. Just yeah, that works out for me.
And how much medication can one take, right?
A lot according to the doctors.
Yeah, but no, definitely there is something weird about this. I had the flu just before winter kicked in, and it also took me some time to recover. But I'm glad I had it early.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, no. I think it's just because like, in the mornings it's like really cold. In the evenings it's okay. And then after 5 p.m. you get that sudden dropping temperature, which is no,
Yeah.
not used to this winter.
Such is life. Such is life. But I choose not to complain. Like people, when it's hot, they're complaining because it's too hot. When it's cold, it's too cold. So
I thought it was just the Indian thing. I guess I know it's not.
100%. So, what's your average day like besides being a phenomenal author, which we'll get to later on?
No, thank you. Okay, so I work full time. So it's like up early. I leave home around 6:30 or so. Get to work until 5. Get home around 6:30, just depends on traffic. And I don't even live that far from where I work, but traffic has its own schedule. And then come home, cook, see to my toddler. She's 3. Um, and then just like obviously pray. Um, yeah, that's basically it. It's like being a typical housewife when I'm working. That's one way to put it.
Well, thanks for being honest. I mean, we focused on the independent space or the independent creator space, and many independent artists out there, no matter what form of artist you are, listening to the show. Here's another example about somebody who still works full time, but still focuses on a craft. There's no shame in it. We've
Yes.
all been there. We understand there's overheads, there's bills to be paid. It's understandable.
Yeah, love don't pay the bill, unfortunately.
Exactly. Any creative out there, we all want to reach a stage in our life where, okay, we either making music full time, we're writing full time, we're painting full time, and we want to financially sustain ourselves with our
Yes.
work. But this
Yes.
is just part of the process. So it's not saying one day you won't get there. I mean, I was there also once upon a time. But you had to do
Mhm.
what you had to do. And whenever funds came in, you funded all your projects
Yes.
and you had to put in the hours.
Yes.
That's what comes with it. So we live in this world where people love to compare, right? You
Yes.
know,
And it's also a thing where one income is not enough to sustain a household anymore. So it's not even an option to sit at home and do nothing. Because if I could, I would sit and write. Like, because I found like I'm actually gets I'm drawn to it. Actually, I actually enjoy it, and I've take up small hobbies all the time. I'm an Aries, so I tend to get bored easily. So I'm always looking for something different to try. So yeah.
yeah, especially with the South African economy, right? You need more than one income. Putting that out.
Don't even go there. It's like I told you need another show for this one because that's just too much.
100%. Yeah, I mean, just to conclude on that, so any independent artists out there right now listening, there's no harm in having a full time job and coming home in the evening or waking up early in the morning and working on your craft. It's fine. You will get there one way or the other. I always say you need to be the first you, not the second somebody else. So stop comparing yourself to somebody who's living their dream full time, because believe it or not, they went through the same process you're going through now. So just trust it and do what you have to do. And if you're willing to
And I think
it'll work out.
I think that's what a lot of people don't understand. There's a difference between taking inspiration from something and comparing it to something. Like I would say, like, I'm inspired by people who have like a certain lifestyle and maintain a certain lifestyle, but I'm not comparing my life. I mean, it's like just like that's like a role model for me, to get through one day, like you're saying. So yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Well, thank you. I'm glad when the show starts off and the guest actually has so much energy and so much to say. I love it.
Yeah, it looks like that. I mean, it's like I said, like come home from being a working mom to being a housewife. It's a schedule on its own, but I try to keep up and maintain it as well as I can.
Yeah. And for listeners, as I told Renae before we could come onto the show, she's the first South African creative I have had on the show in 3 years. So that's a milestone to me.
It's
I
exciting,
never thought
yes.
it would ever happen, but it has happened. And it's happened because, the algorithm worked in my favor, where I actually saw someone online that was so passionate about their work, their story, what they want to share with the world. And it just kept popping up on my feed. I'm like, okay, I found someone now.
I was actually surprised when I got that message, and it was like I think within the second day after the book was launched, then I got your message, and I was like, okay, I was like, of course, why not? Because I was so intrigued by it. Thank you.
It means you're doing your job right. That's what it means.
The normal trying to do something that I've never done before, so it's exciting to know that it's getting recognized some way.
Yeah, no, definitely is. I mean, yeah, 3 years, it's quite some time, but I just never came across someone. I mean, I've worked with a lot of creators within the music industry here in the independent space, but that drive and that passion and that consistency was so difficult to find, where I could reach out and say, hey, you know what, you want to come onto the show and tell the world about you, tell the world.
And I honestly appreciate it. Like, I was so happy. Like, I immediately screenshot that and I sent it to my husband. I'm like, can you believe? And he's like, okay, go for it, And I think you'd see the time that you sent the message and the time I'm like, email sent, like, like I was so chuffed about it.
Yeah, and this is one of two. We are going to be welcoming you on to Talking Back to Suicide as well. So that's
Yes, you did. And I did. I have conversed with Diane by email, and she seems. I can't wait. I was checking a few of the other podcasts of yours. I just want to know what I'm getting myself into, and just to see it in a. You know what? Some of the stories, well, if not all, are so inspirational, and I think we can really I can myself take a page out of those books because, sure, the stuff like we always think that what we go through is bad, and you find that somebody else is facing something 10 times worse. So yeah,
100%, and it gets emotional. It definitely gets emotional on that show, But we appreciate everybody that does come on.
You're not gonna make me cry.
That's completely up to you. So yeah, let's get the ball rolling. There's this huge difference between chatting. I don't really like to call it an interview. This is a chat, it's a conversation, but there's a huge difference between a fiction writer and a non-fiction. Huge difference. And I mainly have fiction writers. And of course, there's different characteristics or elements, about from the author in their book, with one of the characters. But it's really difficult when it comes to a non-fiction because their book or what they're writing about is in sync with their life. And I love to always start the show off with getting to know the person, personally, not just for me, but also for the audience, because that's what leads people to actually saying, okay, cool, let me check out the end product because the relationship is built. Now, with you, for example, now, anything you could possibly talk about, is in sync with your book. But I don't want to jump to the book straight away. So let's just act like the book doesn't exist for the next 20 minutes or so. Okay? And you just start at any point in your life. You can go all the way back to Pietermaritzburg. For those who don't know Renae and have read a book, you can start there and you can tell us about your life, you know.
Okay.
And of course, anything you're not comfortable to say on the show, completely understandable, up to you. But let's get to know who Renae Patel is and where it all started for you.
Okay, so Pietermaritzburg, as you mentioned, that's my hometown where I was born. And then as you'll see, like in the book, circumstances actually brought us to Johannesburg, and as us, I mean my mother and my siblings. And I am so happy that my mom chose to move when she felt like life was not working out for her. She was not afraid to start again. And I think that's something that I would always admire and take from her. Like, she didn't worry about what people said. She didn't worry about whether she was doing the right thing or the wrong thing. All she was as a single mom and 3 kids trying to start a life somewhere different. And then I ended up here in Johannesburg, schooling here. Obviously, I had an accent, as people would say. It's a very distinct accent. And then I was bullied because of that accent when I was here. There was a bullying incident, and I was forced to change schools after that because it was very, very bad. And it's sad that people pick on somebody before they even get to know who they are. You know, you can just say a couple of words and it doesn't fit in somebody's world, and they automatically feel like you don't belong. And I was 9 when that happened. And then I became a little bit of a rebellious teenager, not listening to what my mom says. And that caused me to fall pregnant at the age of 16 and get married at the age of 16. And yeah, then I had my son, and now I'm here where I am now.
Yeah. I'm actually halfway through your book, and just by you talking right now, it's like I've known you for years.
I think that the magic about it is that you can actually put a face to the story. Yeah, but it's like, I don't know where you'd like me to start. I think that's why I'm fumbling here, because I don't know exactly what you want to know. Because like you said, so like you already know me, so everything in there is valid. And the main thing for me right now, as a person and as a mother, most importantly, is just try and make sure that the cycle does not repeat itself. That's the
Nice.
main thing. So there was even when I was writing the book and I was realizing that while I'm doing this, there's so much that happened with my mom that happened with me. And there's, now that I'm putting it into words, it's like I'm actually taking back to see that this is what I've been through. This is what my mother's been through. And this is not something I want my daughters to go through, because I have 2 daughters, and the one is 19. She's currently studying towards her degree in HR management, and I've got my baby. So there's, between the 2 of them, there's a massive age gap between 19 and 3 years old. So I have my age.
But look, there has to be one family member in every family that has to break the cycle. And correct me if I'm wrong, that's how you actually started off your book. I'm actually going to show people the book while we're here.
How can I show? I also have one.
Yeah, there you go. Together. We can show it together. And thank you so much for sending it to me,
No, you're most welcome. You're most welcome.
I actually had like a LOL moment as well, thinking, okay, Renae has just exposed every single Indian household in South Africa. Well done to you. Somebody had to do it sooner or later.
Yeah, I. Oh gosh, you're making me laugh. Was I sitting there like, I wanted to sign it to you, and I wanted to address it to you, and I wanted it to have like a personal meaning to you. I feel like a lot of us, we tend to underestimate ourselves in what we are capable of doing. And I know you said you want to talk about the book a little bit later, but I just want to go into after my son's death.
Actually, as we move along. Full take
Yeah.
as we move
Okay.
along, you know. Yeah.
So it was just like after my son's death, it was just more or less a personal diary. Like I had all this time and all these thoughts running into my mind, and I'm like, let me just start writing. So initially, before I had the means to have access to a laptop and stuff like that, I was writing on my phone, my notepad, anything that came to mind, putting it into like perspective in a way that makes sense to me. And I was just making like notes in my notepad and stuff like that. And then when I could get the laptop, that's when the laptop came in. Then I'm like, now I'm starting on Microsoft Word, putting it into, sorting it out into the way events happened, what I would like to change. And eventually, when I did get a laptop, then I started with Microsoft Word, just taking in pieces. It was basically, like I'm saying, a diary from at that moment. And then I'm like, but I need to go back. I need to go back into the beginning where how I got myself to this point in my life where my everything is falling apart. And that's when the beginnings of my story came through. And I did actually publish it, like self-publish it on, I think it was Bookreeks, if I'm not mistaken. It was just like nothing like what it is now, obviously, because this is like a polished version. It was just basically something, and I had it up there, and I saw it, and then I'm like, I came across it, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to publish this. I'm going to polish it. I'm going to finish it, and I'm going to publish it because somebody needs to know my story. And there's a lot of things in the book that I am not proud of. And there's a lot of things that people usually feel ashamed of. But I'm going to just put myself all out there. Like, you're not just going to see me on Facebook and be like, that's Renae Patel. But at least now you get to know who she actually is. That there's a lot more to people than the eye. And that's why I'm saying when I was bullied because I just sounded different when I came from Pietermaritzburg, that was just uncalled for.
Yeah, yeah. But by you putting it all out there, you're actually allowing other people to say to themselves, okay, I can also face my own demons in life. So let me just, be open about it instead of running away from it. Because that's what we tend to do, most of the time. We're running away from our problems. We're running away from those cycles, from those bad habits that happen. We don't want to face them. And that trauma carries you throughout your whole life, from your teens to your 20s to your 30s into marriage. And sooner or later, somewhere down the line, there's no age that's tied down to it. It's going to catch up with you and it's going to hit bad.
Yes. And that is why I've mentioned that while writing this, I've learned so much about myself. And like I can, like, people always say, like, oh, you're so much like your dad because, or you're so much like your mom because, but when I was writing this book, I could see why I was so much like my mother. It was not just because of maybe the way we looked or something, it's because of the lives that we've lived. And that's what, for me, it was like, is this who I am? Like, sometimes you can be your biggest competition, you can be your worst enemy, you can be like, and that's what's hurtful is because when people are picking on you, they don't realize that you're already doing that to yourself. And then you have somebody else now just coming in out of nowhere and then doing that to you. And then you feel like, okay, am I trying to validate what this person is saying or doing because that's how I feel? Is it okay for them to behave that way? Because I already feel that way about myself. So it becomes a norm.
Yeah, yeah. And when we're talking about, or when you are talking about breaking cycles, let's go back to PMB. So, what cycles are you or have already broken out that you knew you inherited from your mother?
I only go there when I have to. I only go there. My mom's actually back. She's actually back in Pietermaritzburg. It's about 2 years now.
Okay.
She wanted to be closer to her siblings because all her brothers, sisters, everybody is there. So she's actually back there. So I only go to see her like once a year when I go there. But yeah. So in terms of Pietermaritzburg, the cycles that I broke in, my mother put up with a lot in Pietermaritzburg. And I feel like, I love that when you in Pietermaritzburg, it's home. Like even when I go there after a year, I don't feel like I've not been there at all. Like my family is welcoming, and everybody's happy to see me. You lunch at everybody's house. And then my daughter, because she's like 19, she's like, but I don't know these people, because we don't see them all the time. But for me, that's where home is. Like in the little house, in that little room where I spent my life. Like that's life for me. But
Yeah.
now where I am, when you're saying in terms of breaking the cycle, I would say that I'm not afraid of Pietermaritzburg anymore. As a child, I was very traumatized by what my mother went through over there. And when we came back to Johannesburg, we had a completely different life. In a sense where my mother broke that cycle of toxic, whatever. And I just the trauma, the violence, as a child witnessing, I was 6 when my mom decided to come, like to bring me over here. So my memories is excellent. And that's what I love about my brain. I can remember things I was doing the day Nelson Mandela was released from prison. I was like 4 years old. I remember a lot. And sometimes remembering is good, but it's also very, very bad. Because there's things that you want to forget and you just can't.
Well, in your book, you spared no detail. So by mentioning that, I'm thinking to myself, like, were you carrying a diary at the age of 6 already, because it's in detail. It's in
Yeah.
detail. You mentioned violence, and to anybody who's read your book, to anybody who's going to read your book, you were surrounded by a lot of abuse. And because of that abuse, after abuse, your mother decided, okay, enough is enough, time to start over. She came to Johannesburg.
Yeah.
Where in some cases, a lot of cases, women choose to just stay no matter what
Yes.
and take the
Yes.
abuse. What would you say to those women out there, just like those Indian households that you expose? Right. I think we need to get a copy of your book to each and every single household and every single Indian area throughout the country. What would you say to them to give them strength to say, okay, look, enough is enough. I'm putting myself first. It's time for me to just get up and leave.
It's never easy to leave. And I'm talking about it from my personal experience. It's never easy to leave. Like, a lot of people will see somebody and that person is being abused in their house, and they'll be like, but why doesn't she just leave if she's tired of it? It's never that easy. There's always a challenge. There's always something that a person is going through that's going to prevent them from going. I mean, I personally, it took me 12 years to walk away. 12. Um, with my mom, she didn't walk away from one relationship. She walked away from 3 because we are 3 children and we all have different dads. Other people look at it in a bad way because, like, okay, this woman, she had 3 husbands. It's not that she had 3 husbands. She had 3 relationships that she saw that was not working for her, and she moved away from them instead of staying in them. That's the way I see it. So
Yeah.
to anybody out there who feels that way, you can do it. It's going to take time. It's going to take a lot of heart. It's going to take a lot of blood, sweat, literal tears. But eventually, when you've had enough, you will walk away.
Yeah.
When you see yourself first and you put yourself first, you will walk away. You will not care about what the auntie down the road thinks of you. You will not care about what your in-laws are going to say. You are going to walk away.
Yeah.
When you've had
I mean, when you mentioned you walking away after 12 years, are we talking about your first marriage at 16?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, can we mention names on the show? Is that allowed?
Well, I'm just gonna call him Sean because he's Sean in my book. So
Right, there we go, Sean. Okay, so yeah, I knew it was Sean. You knew it was Sean. I just wanted to get your approval first. Before I get an email coming in.
yeah, you want to get sued? Just I don't be.
Great. Okay, that sorted out. So after 12 years, you decided to walk away, and I'm sure that was one of the biggest cycles you ever broke as well.
Yes. So at the time of me leaving, my daughter was 10. Yes, I can. It did break a bit. but it seems to be better now.
Yeah.
Where would you like me to continue from?
No. Yeah, it wasn't so bad. So you can continue.
Okay. So my daughter was 10, and she was old enough to see what was happening in the house at the time. I feel like she has also witnessed a lot, like how I witnessed a lot growing up. Um, she's been through a lot herself growing up. And when I left, it was like some people stay. And enough times when you would ask them, they'll tell you that they stay because of their children. So I understand that you don't want to break a home. Fair enough. But do you also want your kids to see you getting beat up all the time? Do you also want your kids to see you being degraded all the time? Do you want your kids to see you scared to even wake up late because there's going to be consequences? Is that what you want your kids to grow up seeing? My daughter is 19 years old now, and she's never seen her father Nike ever. So I mean, it's the small things that'll say like, I'm not saying that there was no love in our marriage. There was, but it's just like how we were in front of our kids, like very old school kind of a thing. So there was no physical affection that my children can account for in front of them.
Yeah.
So there's also like ways that show feel that there's no love there because
Yeah.
yeah,
I just
like,
wanted to.
so don't
So we're talking about Kiara now.
Yes, Kiara, yes.
Okay.
So yeah, so like like she didn't see the love between us. So she probably felt like there wasn't love there. That is what I'm saying. Like there was love there. I was madly, madly, madly in love with her dad when I met him. As you read in the book, like, it was like more me, like this is what I wanted. At 16, I thought like that's what I wanted. I was gonna be that forward child. I'm gonna do I'm just gonna do what I want, and no one's gonna tell me anything. And at the time, yes, my mother did try to put an end to the relationship. She didn't agree with it because at the time I was 15 and Sean was 21 years old. My mom tried, but eventually I think she just gave up with me because she just knew I wasn't going to let go of what I wanted. That's one of my bad habits, actually. To think about it, like always going after something that I want. Sometimes it can be one of my bad habits. But yeah, my mom didn't condone my relationship. Um she tried. I was just disobeying her in every way possible because I felt seen, I felt accepted, I felt everything I didn't feel at home.
Yeah. So I got to put the question out there, based
Yes.
on what I see happening around the world, especially with trauma at a young age. There's a trend. There's a trend because when girls at that age have gone through so much trauma, they're searching for belonging. And they're searching for someone that's going to give them that belonging, that's going to give them that attention. And you've also mentioned, not in those words, but you've also mentioned it in your book. So is that the trend? That I was brought up with trauma. So the first guy or the first girl that comes my way, they may not be the best fit for me, and I don't know it yet. But because I need somebody to protect me, I am going to jump into this relationship. So I see that happening a lot.
So, far as it being a trend, I think it's just psychology in a sense where there's a chapter in the book that is called Addicted to Intensity around him, around his household. But that's what drew me to him because I felt comfortable in that. So that is what, yeah. So when I seen it, I recognized it. I didn't see it as danger. For me, it was normal. And I was very, very drawn to it. I actually loved the way he carried himself. I loved the way people like stopped when he spoke, like the authority. And also, I didn't grow up with a father figure. So technically speaking, to have that person there, being everything. Like, I seen him to be like this bad boy. Okay. And for some reason I was like, this bad boy, he's not gonna let anybody take advantage over me. He's not gonna let anybody bully me again. I'm not gonna have to go through that because there's someone that's going to stand up for me. And that's what drawn me to him. So yeah, that's everything. I think it's more like a psychological thing. You grow up in chaos and you feel like that's what you need to be around. That's basically what happened with me.
Yeah, yeah. Now I see it happening a lot. I see it.
Mhm.
The last time I actually, witnessed it firsthand was about 2 years ago. So I
Okay.
mean, talking about somebody who was 15 years old and she's dating a 19-year-old at the time. Now they are still together. And when I looked at this girl, and there was a few times I actually had to intervene because they actually stayed close to me, and there was just so much abuse that was going on in the household. And it's not something I really stand for, or I'm just going to walk past, whether I know you or don't know you.
Yeah.
And I stepped in to help this girl. And for a while, I thought to myself, wow, she has so much potential. She can really create such a bright future for herself. And it was moving in that direction for a good couple months. And then after they actually moved from this area where I am, next thing because of social media now, so they back together. So she's just gone, back to where it all started anyway. So, well, it's
It's just our mentality. Yes, it is difficult to walk away, but it's also our mentality. It's what we feel comfortable around. If we are used to a man speaking to us anyhow, when we see it, sorry.
that's fine.
Um, so when we see it, it doesn't raise a red flag. It doesn't tell us that this is what's going to happen, because I mean, if we're growing up in it, and it looks like this is a norm. So when he's speaking to me and swearing me and talking to me anyhow, for me, I've seen my mama be spoke to like, so surely that's how a man must speak to a woman. You know, that's your mentality as a child, or yeah, you feel like that's what's right.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Yeah, and it's not something that I honestly feel, is going to end anytime soon. It's just it's not there unless everybody gets a copy of your book and listens to the show. But that's also the ambitious goal. But at least, you're trying. Like, if you can save one person, with the work that you
Yes.
do, and that's a responsibility of any creative out there, one person is enough.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
how I feel. You must know, like with me also, I also at one point was just staying because of my kids. And
Mm.
it was mainly not even so much because of Kiara, because she was like young but very, very independent at such a young age. As you read, you're halfway there, but as you read, you'll understand why. And then my son, who was special needs, and he needed to be around his dad because I had to work all the time, and his dad was at home taking care of him. And if I had to walk away from that, what do I do? Because who's going to take care of my son? Um, Someone needs to earn money. Like you were saying, we were speaking about it earlier, that at that time I was the only person working, and every cent mattered. There was nothing that was unaccounted for. So if both of us sat at home, we would never have survived.
Yeah, yeah, I get you. So let's talk about another deep, deep issue, okay? And it's crazy that, I mean, for someone who's been through so much that you're still here today, you know, like
That's all
with
because
the
of God,
suicide
to be
rate
honest.
on a rise. I mean, yeah, yeah, it's crazy. You talk about the ocean took my son, but it did not take his story. How
Yes.
does one survive after that?
You see, that's the thing. I'm surviving, but I'm not living.
Yeah.
Um, it's like I'm here physically or whatever, but inside it's a total different type of emotion. Um, I, I don't have words. Um,
Yeah, which is
I feel like,
understandable.
yeah, I don't. So like with my son, he always wanted to see the ocean. That's where that part comes in. He always wanted to. At the time, our circumstances were such where we never owned a car yet. Um, And then he'd see like the beach on TV and stuff, and he'd say that, he wants to go. And we tried to find out once or twice how to get him there because of his wheelchair. He was always in his wheelchair, and he never got to see the ocean. And I grew up in Pietermaritzburg, as you know, but I've never been to the beach. And the only time that I went was to scatter his ash. So yeah. So that was like a very overwhelming moment for me. Just taking in the beauty of the ocean, and I could not reconcile with the reason that I was there for what was happening. So it took him, but it didn't take his story, because I continue to make sure that people know who he is, who he was, what a special boy he was. He was special needs, but he was just so special in other ways as well. Every child is special. But for every mom, their child is special. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
So yeah.
We mentioned talking back to suicide earlier on, another show that you're going to come back on. And we've spoken to people before about dealing with that loss, because there's so many examples out there of a parent losing a child, and the next thing you know, it's suicide ideation, and it eventually does lead to suicide. So once again, I'm going to put you on the spot, to any parent out there that has lost a child and is still trying to overcome it, and they're having these suicidal thoughts. They don't know what to do with their life. They don't know what's the next steps, where to go from here without their child. What message would you give them?
So this is something that I learned the hard way. I was busy grieving my child who was not here, that I stopped focusing on the child that was here. And I think we just need to, yes, we've lost. There's nothing, no amount of hurt that can bring that person back or anything, but we have to be here for the people who are here now. And my suicide attempts were never successful, and there were more than one. I feel like it wasn't my time. It really wasn't my time, and there was more for me to do here. And now that I'm sitting back almost 10 years later since his death, I realize that this is why it was not my time. Because there's so many, after my son passed away, I told myself I will never have another child. That was not on the cards for me. I just shut down completely. I've been around other kids. I've been around my nieces, my nephews, but I could not bring myself to show any one of them affection, not carry them or hold them or anything. And it's like that till now, if I'm being honest with you. And when I found out that I was pregnant with my daughter, when I found out I was pregnant initially, I felt so much of guilt, in a sense where I felt like I was replacing a life that I lost, because I did say that I didn't want to have any more children. And then I had 2 miscarriages. And then I prayed and I asked God to forgive me for what I said when I was angry. And she came. And I'm so happy, because the same love that I would have given him, I get to invest it in her. With him, I used to like to have parties for him, because we didn't know which birthday was his last. So through her, I get to do those things again as well. Like celebrate every little milestone. My son never walked, but when she took her first steps, it was like really, really overwhelming for me, because I forgot what that felt like, or wanting to witness those things. So they just need to hold on. It never gets easy. Grief is a never-ending journey, and there's no right way to grieve. There's no wrong way to grieve. But just hanging there for the people that are here. That's what I would say. Can I just excuse myself?
Well, it's fine. I mean, emotion,
No, it is. It is. And, it's almost 10 years later, but it doesn't feel like it's 10 years later. It's not something that I talk about every day, but I live with it every day. And I'm proud that I can stand here, and like before I couldn't even get this far without being emotional and stuff like that, and writing this book and reading it over 100 times to make sure that it was okay, because it's a self-published, so I had to make sure that I had everything the way it would have been. I watched a lot of TikTok videos, a lot of YouTube videos on formatting and things like that. And every time I had to go back and read it and then wasn't happy about something, and then I relived it many, many times while writing this. I was depressed for weeks. I would barely sleep because I would just sit back and think, is this where I am now? Some chapters broke me more than others. But yeah, I'm so happy that I've done it. And I'm hoping that my story can save somebody. There's a mother out there, there's a daughter out there, there's a sister out there, there's even a friend or a cousin out there who's going through so many things. And it might be like, I've been suicidal from the time I was 14 years old. That is not something someone is born with. That is not, life messes you up in a way until you reach that point. And you just feel like you can't do it anymore. And at 14, everybody must be like, but what does she know? Why would you want to kill yourself at 14? You didn't even see life. But I mean, I'm 36 and I feel like I've been through things that people twice my age haven't been. Everybody's life is different. Everybody's journey is different. You experience different things as you go along. And it's just what we take from those lessons that we learn. Life lessons are the best teachers. It's what we take from it that makes us stronger and better at the end of the day. It's hard to hold on, but what choice do we have?
Yeah. You actually just answered, my next question about why did you write this book? No, it's cool. I mean, you're flowing.
Yeah.
So, why did you write this book? Because if you did die by suicide at 14 or 19 or 26, whenever, you wouldn't have written this book that I personally feel can impact and help so many people. Honestly, this is the type of stories, memoirs or non-fictions, whatever you would like to label it, that we need out there, because it's work like this that actually helps people. The ironic part about being a creative is that it takes a whole lot, a shitload of trauma to create the best work. Irony,
that is one way of doing it. It's like when I read the book, I was impressed at the way I executed it. I think I I left out a lot of pain, but that's because then I would need to do a whole another novel. My book it's currently 400 pages long. It's going to be like double that. But I put the parts that people needed to know the most without boring the reader. I didn't want my reader to be bored and say like, oh, she's talking about this again. So I just put in summed up my life as quickly as I could, in as little as I could, in the ways that makes the most impact to somebody out there.
Yeah. And what I love about your book, or any author out there who keeps their chapters short, I love that.
Okay, so I could have made it 10 chapters, just 50 pages long, just by the way.
Oh, so I love that. James Patterson, he's one of my favorite authors, because I love thriller. And I just love it, when he keeps the chapters short as well. So while reading your book as well, I just loved that you did that, and each one is just so deep, hence why I say, like, when I mentioned before, did you have a diary at 6 years old? But now you mentioned, no, I just had good memory because
I do have a very good memory. And
detail, and I could resonate with it.
So, while I was busy with the book, the first person who actually read the book was Kiara. She read the book. And that was just like my first draft, when I was just getting everything in order and stuff like that. When the book was published, I made sure that I sent a copy to my mother in Pietermaritzburg, who just finished reading it. I think it was on Saturday. She sent me a message to say, I just read your book and I am so sorry that I could not be there for you as much as I should have been. I didn't know that you were caring so much. She also said that she's proud of me for doing that, for putting my life story out there for the world to see. And it made her emotional too, because she also had to relive a lot that she put away. I always say sometimes our emotions are like Christmas decorations. We take them out once a year, we unpack them once a year, and we deal with them. And then when we feel like, what, it's time to be strong again, we tend to put them away and then just take them out when we need to use them again, like Christmas decorations. But
Yeah.
hearing that from my mom was I actually cried, because it's not something that I've heard her say before in so many words. I've never wanted an apology. There's a lot of things that my mother really didn't know that I was going through, and that was my choice for not telling her. I can't hold her accountable for not saving me from something that she didn't know was happening or was about to happen. But I love that she apologized to me for hurting me without knowing that I was being hurt,
Mm, mm.
in that sense. So
No,
for her to give me that feedback, it meant a lot to me. It really did.
yeah. It's good. She could have responded in a completely different way.
She
What shall we do? We just
You're putting my stuff out there. What is this one gonna say? What is that one gonna say? How am I supposed to look at my sisters now? Yeah, but no, my mom, she said it was very emotional for her, because she also relived a lot through what I wrote.
we're talking about your mother's name as Leela.
No, that's Sean's mother's name. I don't mention my
Your
mom's
mother's name is Leela. Your mother. I don't think. Wait, did you mention your mother's name?
I don't mention my mom's name, no.
Right. Come to think about it. No, right. Leela, okay. Sean's mother's. Yeah, you don't mention the name. Right. You're correct about that. Okay, I'm with you there now.
No.
Yeah.
But
No,
I can tell you my mom's name. My mom's name is Nisha. And without her, none of this would have been possible, because obviously I wouldn't be here. So
Yeah, no, definitely, 100%. When you said putting away your feelings, it goes back to, stashing the feelings, as you said, for a rainy day.
we get out one.
And there's actually dealing with those feelings. So, and the latter is the best road to actually take in life itself, deal with those feelings. So there's two things that we have in common. One is I was also born in Pietermaritzburg, and I don't like to go there at any time.
So you're doing
you know, no. My sister still stays there. There's still a whole lot of bunch of family there, but for the way I stay from them and their drama, the better it is for me. And I don't care that I'm saying this publicly on the show.
So you know the accent that I was speaking about. At least you didn't get bullied for it, though.
Yeah. And the second thing was also, breaking the cycles. I also felt the same thing going on in my family, carrying from generation to generation to generation. And then I woke up one day and I'm like, I started questioning my behavior. Like, why do I react in a certain way? Or why would I consume alcohol and then all of a sudden, think about getting into a fight with my friend? I started to bring awareness to what was happening. And this was in my 20s. And I'm like, nah, something is not right here, And then I started working on it, by myself. It took me about a year, but I started working on it, whether it was writing and like quantum analyzing it. So I would write down the behavior itself, and then I'll be like, okay, next line is why do I behave like that? And then I'll write it down. But why does that happen? I will write it down. And then I started working on my subconscious, meditation helped a lot. And a year later, I just noticed that change in behavior. And I was like, yeah, now I have broken that cycle as well in my family. And the crazy part about it is that why I speak so proudly about my family that I stay away from them.
I see.
Because they are failing to evolve the way I am evolving. So they still want to stay stuck in that routine, of family drama, of unnecessary drama, of stupid fights about, not behaving yourself when you consuming alcohol at a family function. And I haven't attended a family function in years. So
Because why you take it when you can just have your alcohol at home in peace?
yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
whether you're a friend, whether you family, if you're not willing to evolve, and our energies are not in sync, I just try to keep my distance
Yes.
for my own benefit. And it's
Yes.
difficult. I mean, I can use my mother as an example as well. I mean, she has evolved, but not completely. But the moment you speak about the underlying trauma, or you speak about what we have inherited, which you, once again, start off your book saying, it's like, you don't know what you're talking about,
Yeah.
and then,
Yeah.
then you suggest, okay, how about going and seeing a psychologist if you don't want to talk to me about it? Oh no, I'm not going to waste money on a psychologist. What does a psychologist know? You get that type of response from family members.
Yeah, like I
For
raised you and you want to go listen to somebody else,
yeah. So
Yeah,
it's
no,
like
I do.
people choose to stay in it because it's they're familiar, like they're familiar with it. You know, that's it. And nothing else out there is gonna matter. You know.
That's the problem. I think that is the biggest problem. I know you mentioned something about drinking and fighting and with your friends and stuff like that. In my book I do mention that usually people say that they're drinking to forget. And if that is right, then I must have been drinking wrong because I never forgot a single thing. I just remembered even more. That all the emotions and everything else just came back to me tenfold. And if that's how the book started, basically. One day, just me, a bottle of brandy and Coke and the hookah pipe and the book. Oh, because of feelings. It's just like my words were just grief with nowhere to go. It still is grief with nowhere to go. And then I realized to myself that the biggest issue for me when it came to my son was that never had enough time with him. And that is something that I regret till today. I spent all my time working, trying to maintain a household that I knew I had limited time with him. The doctors did tell me that, but circumstance doesn't listen to reasoning. Circumstance doesn't listen to your schedule or pay your bills or anything. So that is one of the things that I regret the most, that I just didn't get enough time with him. And there's no time that anybody can say with their child that this is enough. So there's no amount of time that I would have had that would have been enough as well.
Or no parent is supposed to bury their child.
No,
But yeah, and
it's
at times,
inevitable.
yeah, yeah. At times people will say, God has his reason. And, I've never been in a situation to be like,
Yeah.
are you sure he has a reason? Or I'm pressing on here. And I mean, you somebody who said, it was because of God that you got through all that you have got through your whole life.
I did fight with
So,
God a lot. I did.
and it's okay to
I
fight
fought
with
with
him,
God
right?
and I argued with him a lot. But at the same time, I also held on to that. That's what I'm saying. I asked for forgiveness. I said things when I was angry. Um, but I feel like I wouldn't be like now that I'm here, I can tell you, what, God, even when I thought you weren't watching, you were. Like there's also like a part of the book, I'm not sure if you've got there yet, where I was robbed while I was waiting for my transport. I was robbed twice. So I was the only Indian waitress in the entire mall, and I used to work shifts. So it worked like from 10 in the morning till like 10 at night sometimes, and I used to wait for my transport just outside the mall. And not too far from that was an informal settlement. And twice I got robbed. But I thank God that I was not hurt.
Hmm.
It was just the phone and the material things that were taken, and that was it, not my life. So, like, even when I thought God wasn't watching over me, He was just there because I felt like there were so many times, like I'm saying, where I tried to commit suicide, and I've tried to commit suicide in multiple ways. Like, I thought maybe this method doesn't work, maybe this one would work. There are times when I was doing it with the intent to die, and there was time where I just wanted to feel pain. It's something totally different, but yeah. And I just said, it's not my time. God wants me here for a reason. And now that I am here and I see the direction that my life is taken, this is where I'm supposed to be. As much as I would love to see my son again, be with him again, spend time with him again, I just have to wait it out here. This is my race and I need to run it to the end. So, yeah.
He's shown you your purpose, and that I
Yeah.
feel is what has kept you so strong. So a message to anybody out there is identify what that purpose is. You know, we all have it. Oh, we have somebody else joining the show. And he's, uh,
Always see the hair walking past.
yeah. And I don't edit these parts out. I had one guest also, they were from New York and their dog actually came onto the show, you know, wagging his tail. And I just left it there.
Okay, well, just people want to see hair walking past. They want to see what the fucking happening. But you know, she brings me a certain type of light. I can't explain. Like I am genuinely happy. Like all that hurt, like all that love. I just feel like this is what he would have wanted me to do. Put it out there, and just make sure that he's never forgotten and everybody remembers his name. And yeah, that's what I'm trying to do slowly but surely.
Yeah, but I mean, you're winning, you know, and really do humans appreciate all the small steps, but we should, and we should acknowledge the small wins. And look at how he brings like-minded people also together, you know, driven by
Yes.
purpose to make humanity better, to actually help people. That's what this podcast, you know, was built on, and that's what your book is based on. And that's just God's magic, in my opinion, working, you know, for the benefit of humanity.
Yes.
And it's magical. It's magical. On your website, you
Yes.
say that you enjoy quiet moments, meaningful conversations, and spending time with people I love most. What would you say is your opinion when it comes to a world that's driven so much by doom scrolling, you know, glued to screens all the time, because we miss out on the moments, we miss out
So,
on the meaningful conversations, and we don't spend time with people we love. That's 2020.
so there are times where we had this thing where my husband and I, when we go to bed, there's no phones. We are just going to spend time with each other. We're just gonna talk to each other. And there are times where we both are sitting next to each other and we're on our phones. So like I'm now like my excuse is always like I'm trying to market my book. I'm trying to find new ways to, you know, to get my book out there. Like I'm trying to see what other ways to promote it. I'm trying to see what type of content I can do next because the memoir is not the only book that I've published. I've also done a children's book, and I'm currently busy with another one, which is going to be about my son Shaden. I'll tell you more about that a little later. So I feel like before my household, we would just like play games. Like we've literally got Cluedo, we've got Scrabble. It's been a while since we have done it because I have been busy. I've been busy. I haven't really had much time, but I think I need to bring that back in because that was where we would bond. I don't see my 19-year-old at all unless she wants food. And I'm being serious about it. That's the only time I see her. She only comes out of the room when she wants to eat. I don't see her at all. She's either in the room like she's busy playing Fortnite, or she's busy with the studies, or she's working from home. She's always doing something. So I don't get to see her as much, even though we live in the same house. So I feel like we need to make time for the important things and the important people in our lives. It also works both ways because teenagers, they can have this whole attitude problem. Like, their time is their time. So I do understand it. But I feel like it's something that I need to because, like I'm saying, I never had enough time with my son. And tomorrow is not promised. Yes, my son, he had special needs. He had spinal muscular atrophy. And my daughters are with me now. They might not be sick, but anything can happen. And I think I need to make an effort as a parent to spend more time with my children and to be more in my husband's life because I'm there. But I mean, I'm sitting and writing a book till 2 o'clock in the morning. And this man is on his fourth dream. So yeah. So it's like, hey, we need to make time for the people that matter because they only have for a limited amount of time, and you don't want to have what ifs or I should have or I could have
Yeah,
or why didn't I, because I have all of it. So
yeah, yeah. Easier said than done, you know, but we have to keep that balance in life.
no, I know. We just
Uh,
have to try. Like I feel like even if it's one day in a month, one day in a week, just to show people that they matter. So I'm going to after this, I'm gonna go and speak to my 19-year-old, and then tomorrow's Pizza Tuesday. So yeah, that's how we're gonna spend time together. She's gonna buy me pizza.
Okay, so since you mentioned up and coming projects and other projects up
Yes,
there, as we conclude, am I pronouncing this right? Gianna's Divine Adventures.
Diana's Divine Adventures. Yes,
So, what put that into motion?
I honestly had a dream. I know people say that they had a dream, but I was I was like in just like starting this book off of mine, and I was like, I had this idea, and then I was like, but it could work, you know. And I went online. I found very little. Can you bring me a copy of Diana's Divine Adventures? And I checked upstairs, just asking. Right. And then I had this dream and I had this idea, and I went online and I checked, and there was very few concepts. I've seen a lot of Hindu storybooks. I've seen a lot of coloring books, but I didn't see one of a storybook and a coloring book together. So I was like, okay, so this is a perfect way to introduce my daughter to religion. And it was a way to teach Diana about, I mean, Hindu deities, there's so many of them. I even learned about a few while I was doing this. And I feel like we're not so familiar. So I grew up around different religions in my household because my mom was Hindu and my dad was Muslim. And I married a Christian. So so I respect all cultures. I respect all religions. I know a fair amount on all of them. It was actually a good thing because I've got to learn so much. So this is Diana's Divine Adventures. Just the lighting is a little bit bad,
Nice.
right? So if you can see, like, it's a little bit of the inside. So this is Diana. She's actually my 3-year-old toddler. That's actually her. She's the main character of the book. And so this is like a little bit of the inside. So it starts off where like Diana makes a mistake or she becomes impatient or something like that. And while she's busy doing her daily activities, it can be cleaning or making roti with her grandparents or whatever. And then the Hindu deity appears and he teaches Diana a valuable lesson.
Yeah, yeah.
And then that's just the Hindu deity page with an important lesson. So it's actually the other way, but it actually says patience helps us build great things. So I've actually covered 24 of the different Hindu deities in the book. And each one has a little short story and it gives you a valuable lesson that a child can take away from it. So yeah, I enjoyed doing this one. I really did.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, you don't have to be a Hindu household to purchase, this could work for any toddler
Oh
out
yes,
there.
yeah. Well, you see, like the lessons are very simple. So one of the stories, Diana is she's busy. She breaks the vase and she's trying to hide it under the couch so mommy doesn't see. And then Lord Ram appears and he tells her that it's always better to tell the truth. So I think it's lessons that we could teach all our children,
Yeah.
not just the Hindu children. But for me, it was about introducing the Hindu religion to children from a young age. Because we know a lot of Lord Shiva, we know Lord Ganesha. There are some deities that we've never heard of, or they are less known than the popular deities. And that's what I wanted. Like, so we have elemental deities, god of the moon and the sun and stuff like that. So I just brought it all into one book. So everybody could even adults could learn something from this, to be honest with you. I did.
Yeah, yeah. No, this is impactful. This is impactful. This is what we need out there instead of our phone screens and Netflix for children.
Yes, yes. I agree. And you know what? Coloring introduces the concept in a creative way. So while your child is busy coloring the pictures away, is becoming familiar with the deities, like Lord Ganesha is holding a lotus flower, or Lord Ganesha likes to eat sweet treats, or stuff like that. It's exciting, and the feedback that I got was enormously positive, and I was so happy about that. It was published an article was published in the Post newspaper. And in the first week, I sold out completely, whatever copies I had on hand. Durban, you rock, guys. But Durban, I won't lie, my biggest support at the time came from Durban, and I'm so grateful for that because they embrace the concept. And I mean, it can teach anybody, like you said. It's not just, yeah.
Yeah, can even teach adults, to be
Yes.
completely honest with you. Some adults, they need the basic teachings in life, because they still behave. I don't want to use the word I want to use, but anyway.
Unless you're gonna be like, "Beep," just insert.
Oh, nice. And then the book that'll be focused on your son. So when are you expecting that to come out to the market?
So my son was Christian because his dad was Christian. Um, Even in my house currently, my daughter, she is Christian. She attends church. I don't stop her. It's her choice. It's her path that she wants to go. I don't belittle her religion in any way. I don't frown upon her religion in any way. You want to go to church on Sunday, I'm proud of you. There are kids that's going out there and getting drunk and doing shit. So if you want to go out there, sorry, if you want to go out there and you want to go in praise and worship, by all means, you do it. I'm not going to stop you. So I have my lamp in my house. My child has her Bible in the house, and we coexist.
Yeah, yeah. That's just being a good human. Being a good human and the respect for each other's religion, culture, background. And that's what we need more in the world. Honestly.
And even with Kiara's dad and I, when we were married, he had no issue with me having my lamp in his house. There were times when I would attend church with him. There were times that he would attend the temple with me. We coexisted like that, and you know what? I love that. Today, I am not telling my child, no, because I'm Hindu, you're going to be Hindu, or you're going to go to the temple, or you're going to, no, you decide for yourself. You're old enough to do it. And you know what? She gets up on a Sunday, she gets dressed up for church, and I'm proud to see, like, you know what? She looks like those women that work in those corporate places, like, like well dressed with a Bible in her hand. It's a proud moment for me. Really.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, you made a great example. She could be out there doing things that are terrible. And
Yeah, I've
situation.
seen some of the kids even smaller than her.
Yeah.
And it's you know what, it's sad that this is what's happening to people. And I mean, like, I always tell her, like, I don't want you to make the same mistakes I've made. I'm not saying that you're a mistake because I've had you at 16, but I don't want you to make those decisions that I've made. And she's made me so proud. I mean, I went back to school literally at the age of 34 to complete my matric, because when I was pregnant with her, I didn't go back to school after that. And it was more like I'm happy enough and lucky enough and blessed in a way that to say that I have a job and I was hired without having my matric qualification. And it's a job that I'm going into my 10th year with the same company, and they really took a chance on someone who just knew a lot but didn't have it on paper to prove that this is what I knew. And I hold a good position in my company. I'm respected in my company. So at the age of 34, when I decided to go and complete my matric, it was a personal goal for me because I've always felt like I've had even my ex-husband tell me that I am uneducated. I don't know anything just because I didn't have a matric. So for me, it was a personal goal to go back to school and finish it and say, you know what? You finished your school. You went back and you did it. So my daughter and I, we both matriculated in the same year. We both matriculated in the same year.
So you can hold your matric certificate in one hand, your book in one, and be like, look at me now.
No. It would be like my matric certificate and then my driver's license because I got all of those late in my life, like very, very, very late in my life. But yeah. So I'm in my daughter now, she's busy with her driving lessons and she's gonna get her license. And I'm proud. You know what? It took me a very long time to get these things in life. Finances was an issue at one point. Not having a supportive person who can tell you, like, if I had to tell my ex-husband that I wanted to go back to school, he'd shut the idea down before I even had a chance to explain why I would want to do it. But my husband that I'm married to now, he's my biggest cheerleader. I can't lie. He would like, I can tell him tomorrow, like, you know what, I want to go to the moon. And he'd be like, okay, fine. Like, how are we going? You know, it's that 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 push. And I think that makes a difference in when you surround yourself with positive people, positive things happen. And this is how I'm seeing that it's not always financially. Sometimes you just need someone to have that faith in you because you don't have it in yourself to say that you can go and do this. So I told you I'm an Aries and I get bored easily. So the other day I'm like, I'm buying a tattoo machine and I'm gonna learn how to tattoo. And I was like, okay, but just don't practice on me. Just don't practice on me. But it was like I just constantly want to do things and just wake up and try something. And it's the fact that someone is there in your corner saying, you can do it. You might fail, but you can do it.
Yeah, yeah. You just mentioned another cycle that you broke because in your book at the start, I think it's in chapter 1, about how your mother was shut down.
Yes.
So you've also broken that cycle as well.
Yeah.
You know, you met that person, the person you with now supports you all the way.
Yeah, so for the listeners who don't know, so my mom, she wanted to take part in a beauty pageant and the idea was shut down. Like, why do you want to enter? Because you won't win anyway. And that's the thing, like, that's the mindset. So I also grew up like that. I mean, I've never put myself first even when I was working. I've always just done what I needed to do. Like, nobody wants to stand there and clean up tables and mop floors and wash dishes or do those things, but we have to be there because we have bills to pay. And when someone is when you're putting up with all of this and you go home at 10 o'clock at night, and then someone is like, just constantly like shutting you down before you can even walk in the door. You already know what's gonna happen. It it breaks everything that you've stood for. Like, I've already just survived a day, and now I have to come and survive this too. I think
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
yeah, that's the hardest for me. So yes, now that you mention it, yeah, I did actually do that because I went back to school and I did that.
Yeah. Renae, you are such an inspiration. I never make a mistake. Taking a chance on a South African creative on the show, this has been wow. This has been wow. And I'm sure there's just so much stories that you can share that's just going to be even bigger inspiration to so many people that listen to the show and, read your book. So as we conclude, is there any final words that you want to share with people out there? Sort of that like, go get my book, go get my book.
You know, I, you know, it's not for me. It's about if I can just change. If someone can just tell me, you know what, I read your book and I left a toxic relationship, or I read your book and I was about to hurt myself and I chose not to do it, or I read your book and I was blaming myself for something that wasn't my fault, and now I realize that I wasn't to blame. For me, that is the purpose. That is the purpose. It's just to teach somebody, like, in an Indian household, like, I find that we always concerned about what people say. I know everybody's concerned with what people say, even though sometimes people say that they don't care what people say. I feel like people can either make or break you. That is how society is, and this is how we are. So for me, when I walked out, there's, as you go further in the book, there's a part where it says that people say that I broke my home. Okay. And this came from people that were in and out of my house on a daily basis. Like, I'm talking about his family, I'm talking about some of my family, some of our best friends that we had together. And they said that I broke my home. And I didn't tell them that I was being abused. Now, abuse is not something that you go and publicize like you won the lottery. It's nothing to be proud of. It's humiliating enough to go through it, and to have to speak about it sometimes is even harder. And for me, it was just about, sorry, I'm just, you know, when people say it happened with other members of the family, I've seen. So I feel like when I left, people told me that I broke my home. And these were people that were part of my family. They were people that were in and out of our house all the time. They were friends. And they said that I didn't tell them that I was being abused. But like I said, when you abuse, it's not something that you go and you advertise for the whole world to know. So it was a lot of things that I kept to myself. And when I left, they were like, but we didn't know that he was eating you. Like I was crazy. After everything that I've been through, they made it look like I was the crazy person. And I said, like, a home is not a place where the wall felt the weight of your body because it hit the wall every time you were thrown against it. Or when I'm busy now wiping my blood off the floor before someone walks in and see that this is what happened to me. Because there's a chapter in the book where I do mention an incident where that happened. So I feel like people are going to judge you anyway, but they are not in your shoes. Don't worry about what people say. If you are hurting, if you are in a toxic relationship, the people around you that are expecting you to put up with it, those are the toxic people. You don't need people like that in your life. It's always hard to start again. It's always hard to start without something to fall back on, without any savings in your account. The economy is so bad that money is the biggest factor why people stay when they're not happy, because they don't know how they're going to make it on their own. I moved into a flat that was empty. I had nothing. And in 3 months or 3.5 months, rather, like, I worked and slowly I bought something. I bought a secondhand bed. It wasn't brand new. I bought a fridge. It wasn't brand new, but it was mine. And it was a piece that I found in those walls that mattered more than anything materialistic could compensate for. If I'm being honest with you, it was about the fact that I'm in my own space. My children are out of their environment. And I feel like people underestimate ourselves. We really, really do. And we're always worried about, but what is that auntie going to say? Or what is that uncle going to say? But they're not going through the situation when you are getting beat up and you are sitting in your room and you're crying and you sitting there because you feel like taking your own life. Your problems are heavier than the weight of your own life. When you're sitting with all of it, I feel like that is when you need to realize that, you know what? These are not my people, because anybody who loved me wouldn't want me to stick to the situation that I'm in. And that's when you need to just try. Just try. Like I said, I know it's easier said than done, but I started off with nothing. It took time. It took years to build what I have right now. But it's not where I want to be yet, but it's better than where I was. And I think that's what matters. There are times where you want to give up, just keep going. Just keep your head up and just keep going. Whatever's going to try and knock you down, whatever God has is bigger. Whatever He has planned is bigger than your problem. So like I always tell people, I'm weak, but I serve a strong God. And that's the only reason why I am where I am today.
Wow. Well done. Sir. What a statement. You need to get yourself okay on one of these stages and you need to preach.
But it's true. It's
Yeah.
really true. I'm like I said, like after my son died, I did fight with God. A lot of times where I was in a situation where I was being beaten up, I was like, like blaming God for what I did. But God didn't ask me to leave my mother's house at a young age and go and have a child at 16. That was me. When I was upset that God took my son away, because I feel like there's so many people out there that are hurting people. There are so many people that are hurting children. There are so many people that are committing crimes on a daily basis. Like, why take my son, who was just sitting here on his bed, minding his own business? I know you spoke about God having his reasons, but I would feel better if I knew what those reasons were. Because people say you're going to see him again. I probably will. But would I be able to sit with him on the couch and watch TV like I would? Would I be able to feed him like how I used to? Would I be able to do those things with him? I think those are questions that are not going to get answered anytime soon. But it's how we live today, like what we take from today and how we carry it forward tomorrow, that makes the biggest difference. And I try to live my life differently every single day. I feel like I've got a second chance at love. I've got a second chance at life, and I'm not wasting it anymore. I'm done. I do care about what people say, but there's a limit to what I care about and what they say.
Yeah.
There's not going to be a person that's going to tell me, like, tomorrow, if my marriage that doesn't work out, there's not going to be a person that's going to say, but you got a small child. So what? Like, I'm at that point now, like, I know I have a small child, but I also have myself to put first, and I can't let my child grow around things like that. I don't want that.
Yeah.
I don't want that anymore. Like my big daughter, like she's 19. When she has a mood, sometimes like, a lot of things that she had to put up with would be brought up as ammunition against me. Like, like, but you let these things happen. You let me love like this. And I feel like if I didn't put a stop to it when she was 10, I think it would have continued until now. So I'm glad that I took her out of that environment.
Yeah. All truth, eh? All truth. I just want to add, about God is that we all vessels and He's going to use us in different ways, and not every way is the same. Okay, what you've experienced, I have not experienced, but I have gone through my own, you know, stuff in life where you do question and you sit down and you're like, God, what's up? But then I realized that this wasn't happening to me, this was happening for me. And I started to look for all the blessings in disguises. And then I started to realize that the challenges in front of me, all the failures that happen aren't actually challenges, they aren't actually failures. There's a lesson to be learned. And then it can be like a month later, can be like a year later, I would do something or I'd complete a certain project or whatever it may be. And I would realize to myself, if that never happened to me, what I considered bad once upon a time, this wouldn't have been happening for me now.
Yes.
This podcast wouldn't be happening right now.
Yes, God used you as a vessel to message me on Facebook to do this podcast.
Exactly, so at times He's going to put you through some rough patches in life. As I said, not each one is the same.
Yeah.
What you went through, honestly, I wish nobody had to go through. But it's led you to where you are now, and with your work, that's slowly impacting people, that need it. They need it because the way I see it is that what your mother went through, what you went through, even though it was such a long time ago, it's still so relevant in communities today. Nothing's really changed, right?
No. And I do know that the cycle broke because she's gonna kill me for saying this, but my daughter at 19, 18, sorry, she was in a toxic relationship. She was just dating, and the guy turned out to be a real toxic person. And she walked away without thinking twice. She thought she loved him, but she walked away without thinking twice. And I love that because I'm showing her what you won't tolerate. And she's like, her relationship isn't very, very good with her dad because of things that she's experienced during her childhood, and obviously growing up amongst the animosity between her father and I, and just being collateral damage in all of it. They don't have the picture perfect relationship that people would like them to have now, because we both are like living different lives. He's also remarried, he's also has another child. um and then Kiara sees him now and then. It just depends on her mood, to be honest with you. He thinks I don't want her to see him, but it's actually her. Like, if she doesn't want to go, she doesn't go, because it's just her choice. They don't have a great relationship, but they try. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I tend not to interfere because I don't want to be in the middle of their relationship. I don't want to be the obstacle in the way. So I encourage it, if anything. If she wants to, then I'll be like, oh, nice. I'm so happy that you're going to spend this weekend with your dad and do things with your dad. Because I feel like she learned a lot. And the smallest decision that she made was by walking away from this relationship when she felt like, it's getting toxic. That is admirable, because she thought she was like so in love. This guy was like everything. She disobeyed me and everything. She's sitting here and she's laughing. Because that's the thing, like she also like disobeyed me. Like, no, I'm gonna go see him, and you're not gonna stop me. And the minute he broke her phone. That's what he did. He broke her phone, and for her that was toxic enough. And she was like, I'm not having this. I'm done. So I'm happy. And the worst part is that he lives around where we live. It's not too far. So she can like see me anytime, and those things can just come back. But I'm hoping when she sees him, she just walks in the other direction, because we're not going back there. We're not going back there. So that's what I like, is that she from a young age, like, she realized that what she thought was love Because sometimes it comes across like I'm trying to rule her life, or I'm trying to live my life again through her by telling her what not to do. So it's rather she can make a mistake and she can learn from it on her own. I'll be there to guide her. Don't get me wrong. I'll be there to guide her everywhere. I will obviously put my 5 cents there wherever I can, but I will constantly push her to be somebody better. I don't want my child to be like me. I want her to be better than me. And there's nothing wrong with it. I will take my pride in that. When she gets a degree, I don't have a degree, but when she gets a degree, it'll be one of my biggest achievements to know that, you know what, this is what happened. And you are here and you've done this and you've overcome everything, and she can carry it forward to her kids and their kids. And then the cycle is done. I've seen that,
Yeah.
and I'm happy about
Yeah. So well done to you. The work is paid off
it.
in all the
Thank
ways
you.
that counts. And I just hope that you keep, and I'm optimistic about it. I just hope that you keep breaking all cycles in other people's households as well.
I hope so too. I really hope so too. I've realized that us worrying about what other people think is not going to help us prosper in life at all. So
Yep. 100%.
we need to
100%.
do what
Yeah.
we have to do.
So, Renae, where can listeners find your book or purchase your book?
Okay, so at the moment, A Childhood Gone and Joanna's Divine Adventures is available on Amazon ZA. Joanna's Divine Adventures is also available internationally through Amazon. I have not yet made out the ebook for A Childhood Gone for Amazon. I am currently busy with that. And then the ebook will be available on Amazon internationally when I'm done. At the moment, it's only available in South Africa. Physical
Okay,
copy.
please. Yeah. Let me know when the ebook is available. I would love to send the link to a lot of people internationally.
I will appreciate that. I would appreciate that. Look, I'm just saying maybe like in the next 2 weeks or so. I just haven't had time. I've been a little bit crazy, and like while Shaden's ideas are still fresh in my head, I think it'll be a unique concept because my child was special needs, and the concept is similar to the Joanna's Divine Adventures, except it will be called Shaden's Heavenly Adventures. And I've actually finished, I want to do it like a series, like of short stories. I've actually started with the first one. It's called Shaden and David's Stone of Courage. So it the main thing for me is that Shaden was a special needs child in a wheelchair. And he every day was a different sort of challenge for him in his own way, where he would be frustrated with himself because he couldn't do things for himself. So in the David Stone of Courage, and Shaden wants to take part in sports in school and he can't because of his wheelchair. So he feels frustrated at himself because he didn't have the courage to do the race because he was ashamed of his wheelchair. And then David appears from the Bible, David as in David and Goliath, and he tells him the small stone of courage. This is the small stone of courage, and nobody thought that this would achieve because the army was there and everybody thought that I was standing there uselessly holding my slingshot and my stone. And he just basically tells Shaden that even if you have your faith as small as a stone, and you have the courage as small as a stone, that you would achieve. So it's kind of like, it's not
That's
very very
nice.
long, but
Yeah.
the concept is there. The concept
Yeah.
is there.
Yeah.
Like I'm still playing around with it, but the concept is there where at the end, like Shaden will take something back from it in a positive way. So I want to do like the popular, well-known Bible stories. Like I'm gonna like David is in there, Moses and Noah. I'm gonna include Samson. I'm gonna put like just a little bit of stuff in there, and then have hopefully 12 different books based on 12 different concepts where my son in his wheelchair faces a daily challenge and they just help him overcome it, and he feels better afterwards.
Nice. I like this. I like this.
Thank you.
Well done to you. I appreciate you and your contribution towards humanity. This is cool.
Yeah.
It's impactful.
See, a lot of children out there that this could reach, like especially children with special needs, because we don't know the frustrations that they feel and what they go through. Like even though Shaden had spinal muscular atrophy, like mentally wise, he was perfectly fine. He would speak fluently. So there were a lot of things like my son would like ask me like, why can't he run? Things like that. So it was very painful having to explain because there's no right way of explaining it. But when I did, he never brought it up again. I felt like for me, when it came to Sweden, I grieved the moments that he wouldn't have more than he would because he's never known life in a different way. He didn't know what it's like to be able to stand up and then not be able to do it again. So for him, he learned from wherever he was, sitting on the couch, sitting on my lap, wherever he was. That was life for him, and he embraced it every single day. He was always happy, always just doing it. So I feel like he had his own challenges that he wouldn't speak to me about, maybe. And I feel like if I do this book and then people can see, like, even stairs, it's a challenge for someone with special needs. So I want to incorporate this in an exciting way so kids with special needs can take something from it, something positive.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much. You not only building a legacy for yourself, but you're building a legacy for your children.
Yes, I just don't want people to forget him because he was such an amazing boy. He really, really was.
Yeah. Yeah. Based on everything that you have told me about him, I, I can see. I can see. And do you want to mention your website really quick?
Yeah, so it's www.renaepatelbooks.co.za. And if you go there, it'll just give you the links for you to order the books via Amazon. Or if people are in South Africa, they can order directly through with me on WhatsApp. My contact details are there as well.
Yeah. And I always tell people to please order directly from the author. So all the proceeds go directly to the author instead of using Amazon and you only receive a portion. We're all about supporting all creators with their
Yes, yes. I see.
So between the two options available that Renae has mentioned, and you are based in South Africa, please contact her directly because you would be supporting her and her future projects to come.
Thank you so much for that.
Thank you so much, Renae. It's been a pleasure. And it is
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I look forward to talking to you again.
100%. I forgot what the date is. Do you remember what the date is? When will I be seeing you and talking back to suicide?
I think we spoke about sometime in October, the 20th of October, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
Yeah.
around the corner. Literally around the corner. We maybe think it's like, yeah, still a couple months, but next thing you know, October.
Yeah, next thing
And
we go. But I've honestly had a bit of an emotional roller coaster today talking to you, but I've also had a lot of fun. I had a little bit more confidence. I was on the radio the other day, promoting Jana's Divine Adventures, and I fumbled a bit there. But this was so much better. I feel like you've helped me realize a lot of points that I didn't. Like especially like with my mom in breaking that cycle of her in the beginning of the book. I didn't think about that. But yes, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for considering me after 3 years you on your show. I honestly appreciate it. Thank you for understanding, for not judging, and for taking your time to read A Childhood Gone, because A Childhood Gone is not just my childhood, it's everybody's childhood. If someone out there is going to find themselves amongst these pages, and yeah.
well, thank you so much for the kind word, and this is why the space was created. Not that I got an issue with radio, but I just feel there's too much red tape when it comes to these topics, depending, which station you want. Whereas with podcasts, there is no red tape, and people can just speak the truth there, and there is no edits or filters, things that are, like, filtered out because, hey, we can't have this out there, So I'm glad that at least we're doing our job on this side, to get you.
No, and I think that's amazing what you are doing.
Yeah. Yeah. One creative at a time, So I'm glad that you come across you because, every single creator that does come onto the show, no matter where they're from, which corner of the world they're from, their work is impacting humanity, whether it be fiction or non-fiction. There's always that hidden story that's just, bringing so much more light to the world that seems so dark at times. So thank you for your contribution. Yeah. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure. And I don't say goodbyes anymore on the show because I always run into people, sooner or later. And I'm going to be running into you as well in a couple of months. It's always
Yes.
catch you later. And I do hope the ebook is out in time so I can send a copy as well to Diana, so she can also read your story, before we have your.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Sure. I'll try and get it sorted out as soon as possible.
Yeah. Don't rush because you want it to be perfect, right?
No, but I do. But I also want Diana to know a little bit more about me by the time we get to talking back to suicide. So at least she gets to know who she's talking to.
Yeah, 100%.